up part 6 to watch and read, and sheesh, I recall the JoJo manga being officially like starting to be translated to English and brought over like back in high school,
Mhm.
and now we're at the point where Steel Ball Run is being printed in English and you can buy it at a bookstore. So it's not that, we're not at part 9, but it's the English localization is catching up relatively quickly. And also a lot of the hubbub with the, especially with part 6, with all the Netflix nonsense, that's like so in the past that I forgot that that was a big reason why a lot of people missed out on part 6 because of how it was released. And now it's like, what, the whole show's there, just go and watch it. So, all right, I'll go and watch it, and maybe I will like Jolene, like how she looks, but I actually don't know who she is. Who is she? Who is Jolene Cujo? And why is Cujo spelled that way? For the longest time, I thought that was like a weird fan translation, but no. Jotaro Kujo and Jolene Cujo are spelled very differently, and I want to know why. Unless that's never explained, then you know what? Make a JoJo video about that. Why is their Cujo spelled differently?
The only way I can think of is daddy issues. like, it's I make it sound funny, but at the same time, hear me out. So let's say there's something happening in the family. We don't really hear much about who Jotaro married. I don't recall at least. And let's say let's say he got too devoted into his own stuff or just there's some bad blood. They got divorced. Jolene just like has an issue with the whole divorce, or has an issue with the dad for not being there so much, which is why she is currently in prison, and which is why, out of rebelliousness, she decided to change her last name. Eh? It's a possibility.
Or
I can see
maybe she doesn't know how to spell it in Romanji.
She is such a delinquent. She is such a delinquent that she didn't bother to go to school. Perfect.
Akud's always love the Akud's razor. Why is it like that? I just didn't know how to spell it. If I knew, I wouldn't spell it like that.
My dad didn't taught me how to spell. He just went. Hurrah!
He just told me about the dolphins. All right. So, actually, to jump from that, I do want to go into our game segment, and that is, as I said earlier in the episode, the topic of giving a game a chance and the surprising outcome that comes out of it. Now, asked this question to Jack yesterday so he can get his brain flow going and think about all the thousands and thousands of games that Jack has played over the years. Isn't that right? The thousands.
Yep, you're actually not too far wrong.
He's that much. He's that much of a gamer. More so than me. I've only played hundreds. He's played thousands.
At least I'm getting close to that.
and so I have got, so of all the many games, there's two that fit this question very well that I have chosen to share with you guys and Jack as well. And so I'm going to actually start off with the one that's more straightforward, and that is, I'm going to share a game that I gave a chance to, but by the end I was not impressed and never continued. This will be more straightforward because my reasoning for it is very simple. So, Jack, let me ask you this: have you ever played a indie game called Fury, and it's spelled with an I, Fury?
No.
All right. So, this is an action indie game that came out in the 2010s. Very stylish, look cool, and I remember wanting to try it out because of one of the super best friends, I think Wooly, maybe Wooly, could have been any of them really, were was hyping the game up and singing his praises. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you know what? I'll try something new. I This is during the time I did not play a lot of any games, if at all. So I wanted to give something a shot, and lo and behold, I remember seeing it on sale on the PlayStation Store because I got this for my PS4.
Mm-hmm.
So I buy the game, I play it, and I come in completely blind. The game begins, and as it was described, it is very stylish. A lot of neon colors, it's futuristic, and you're like this futuristic cyber ninja. Very cool. And I do the tutorial, and then I go into the first boss. And I take my time to figure out how to beat this boss. It took me a while, I think about 30 minutes, and I did. I'm like, wow, that's pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool. I can't wait to try the rest of the game. And then as I go into the next area, I the game then takes me to the next boss. And I'm going, well, hold on, wait a minute. I just beat a boss. Why are you putting me into another boss already? And
Mm-hmm.
and that's when it dawned on me, and I actually did some research that the game Fury was not a traditional action uh, action game where you're going through lots of enemies, doing all these stylish moves and super cool abilities as you're going from one level to the next. No, no, no. Fury is literally boss rush the game. Yep, it
Oh.
is a game where you go from one boss to the next, each of them providing a different challenge to have you test your skills within the game's combat. And as soon as I realized that that's what the game was, I lost all motivation to keep on playing because I wanted a more traditional game because the game controlled very fluidly. And I was like, man, I can't wait to play more of it. And then when I learned that nope, all you're doing is just fighting bosses and you're playing a game that is all about uh, getting sweaty, to use a term. Yeah, that didn't
Mm-hmm.
appeal to me, and then I dropped it, and it's a game I have not touched since then. So that was a negative example of a game that I tried out, and you know it wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. One could say, well, you should have looked it up what it really was before you bought it, and you're absolutely right. But hey, my favorite YouTubers were talking his high praises. I trusted them because they introduced me to a lot of cool games. I wanted to take their word from it, and from that day forward, I hesitate on trusting YouTubers now. You should too. The audience, everyone watching this, don't take my word for it. Everything I say is a lie unless you agree with me. Now, Jack, go ahead and give your first example.
So let's see. Let's start with, you know what? Let me ask you, positive or negative? Which one do you want to hear first?
Let's go positive. Since I started negative, let's go with a positive example.
All right. So this came from whenever I was first barely transitioning between Xbox, like the console, to I almost said PlayStation, PC. As we all know, I was a wee lad that only knew FPSs, party games, and like whatever the GameCube had at the time, and Halo. When I was going through a lot of the games in Steam, when it came to just anything that was free, whether it be demos or free to play, one game kind of stuck out on me, and it was free as a demo for like a little bit. So I was like, I don't know. It kind of looks weird. I don't think I'm gonna enjoy it. It feels like something that will be over my head. I don't know. And that game was Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth. What a way to start off too. Beyond Earth. I was like, okay, it looks cool. It has a bunch of like you can see there's like aliens, robots, things like that happening. So I downloaded the game, I tried it out, and I had no clue what was happening. I was doing everything and nothing at all. I was trying to manage my cities and everything, but I was, even though I didn't understand most of the game, I was actually enjoying it. Like I was never, and I never thought I would actually enjoy anything that's similar to an RTS. And this was like actually my biggest introduction to like turn-based strategy games, and going through all the stuff, even though I didn't have the money, I was like, this is kind of fun. Of course, by the time when the demo stopped working for me, I just kind of ended up not playing it anymore. But later down the lines, look at me now. I now have Civilization 5, 6, Beyond Earth. I might get 7. I think I have 4. I spent thousands of hours, like close to 1,000. Let me see how many hours. I spent 100 plus hours on Civ Beyond Earth. Civ 6, I've currently spent 300, give or take 300. And ever since then, I've actually enjoyed a lot of these strategy games. It brought me not closer to, not just to Civilization games, but when it came to Civilization games, like, I want something else. I want something more compact when it comes to like fighting, especially with the armies. It made me try Total War. And I had a lot of fun, especially with the Total War Shogun. That one was one of my favorite ones. But it basically cascaded to a plethora of strategy games that I didn't think I would enjoy. So that was a big
So
thing.
that's actually a pretty good example, since it literally introduced you to a whole genre of games that, in fairness, you probably wouldn't have been able to experience too much if you stuck with console. Because especially with games like Civilization, that's a game like you have to play it on PC.
Because you have to wait a lot for those
I am
turns.
surprised though that it is Beyond Earth, because I do know that game, but really I just remember the reception of when it came out. I never played it.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, okay, that's a little disappointing for people who like Civ, but I didn't think much beyond that. So the fact that what like even in the current Steam reviews, it still receive a mixed general consensus. It is good to see that, hey, sometimes those 6 or 7 out of 10 games can be like the best game to get into.
I feel like that's the problem with, I mean, you can never tell. This is always, it's mostly because like I feel like the player base can be a little bit harsh, because this game, of course, nowadays people are like, oh, recent reviews are very positive, and that's probably because they're playing it with the only decent DLC they have, which is rising rising tides. And I feel like if they were able to have more time adding in DLCs, it would have been much positive, like a better reception for the game. Because before before the current English reviews being mixed, it was hated. Like it was like very negative on both ends. I don't know. I feel like we as a community, we kind of jumped the gun on this
I'm
one.
looking actually the reviews for Beyond Earth, and a lot of them are generally positive. Although it's positive, although positive in that in the way of saying is like it's a good 6 or 7, because verbatim that's where a lot of people are saying about it in the positive reviews, and in the yeah,
Yeah,
although one person said as of March 5th, hey, at least it's better than Civ 7, quote unquote.
yeah,
But the
yeah.
negative ones, though, honestly, they kind of not kind of they seem very superficial. One just talking about the graphics. One just says the the game is boring, which I mean, that's very subjective, but uh, although for some reason the recent negative reviews, there's only one of them that actually put time into it to try to play it, and their first statement says mid but fun, but the other ones that are negative are barely have an hour of playtime, if at all. So maybe take those with a grain of salt.
Oh yeah, that apparently I didn't even realize it before, but when it came to Steam, it used to not show you how often someone played a game.
Well, thank God, because that brings a whole bunch of context to the people talking about these games.
Yep.
And also, I did not realize that uh, Firaxis Games was a developer, because I know them as the Marvel Midnight Suns people, and that makes sense why even if it's a licensed game, that their Marvel RPG is pretty fun. I should finish it, but that's a time commitment.
Oh
I
yeah.
need to increase my social links with Magic, and you can't stop me because she's kind of winning me over, even though I kind of didn't want to. Because all I can remember is comic book version and just remembering like 8 years ago, you stopped Kitty Pride from marrying Colossus, you bitch. Why did you have to open your mouth? She could have been happy, but no. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't that bad. It's been a while since I reread that story. All right. That is. Thank you for your positive example, and I will now give mine. So, my positive example of a game that I took a shot at is a game I played about 2 years ago, and
Mhm.
in that and this is again on the PS4 because that's where I got it. And it's a game that seemed intriguing, and I did want to try it out because of its premise. And that game is, and I'll say the full title is 9 hours, no, 9 persons, 9 hours, 9 doors, aka 999. And for those who don't
Mhm.
know what 999 is, that it is a visual novel that is also a puzzle game. And it is one that Jack is a visual novel game that's pretty much ruined me from trying out other visual novels because now I have a standard of
Mhm.
what I want in a visual novel. And if it doesn't have that, I am not interested. So the premise of the game, just because it does need some explanation, the title doesn't do it justice, is that you you and 8 other survivors are on a abandoned ship that's in the middle of the ocean, and you guys have been selected for something called the nonary game. It is a sadistic game of life or death where you must strategically solve puzzles and figure out what's going on in order to survive the experience. If I want a simple explanation, it is Weeb Saw, but with tremendously better writing. That's the best way to describe it. So it's not completely a horror game, and it's not that gory, but they shall do some. There's a little blood. There's some things that happen where you're like, no. The game is meant to be replayed, and there is actually a story reason why that happens. And so going through and uncover the mysteries, taking the different branches revealed in the end. I kid you not, the even though I
Mhm.
was playing this in my room with the sun covering most of the TV, and I had to like literally sit on the side so I can actually see the screen properly, even through that annoyance.
Mhm.
I was able to be so engrossed into the game that when it was done, I was like, man, I, I am thankful that I got to experience like game like that. And one day I will try it with sequels because it does have two sequels. I would like to try them one
Mm-hmm.
day when I'm in the mood for it, because it's definitely not just a game you can pick up and play. It's like Ace Attorney in that manner, where if you even drop it for a week, you're gonna forget a lot of details, and by that point, you're gonna have to just do a whole new run because there's too many things that you don't want to forget. That will be my game that took a chance and has a very positive outcome. And also, it is also very funny to technically play what's originally a DS game on a console. But they do a good job because they upres everything properly, so it looks good on the HD TV.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever. I don't know if it was the last time you saw like proper DS graphics. They have their charm, but they don't necessarily hold up, especially if you try to blow them up on the computer monitor. They don't look that great. All right, Jack, go ahead. Share us your last example of a negative outcome.
Okay, so this might be a little bit cheating, but it's it's pretty fresh on my mind. That game has to be Marathon. The upcoming, or not upcoming, it's
Wait,
already out.
Bungie's
Uh
new game's already out?
exactly,
Oh
see.
shit! You got me there.
So I played the game, not I didn't buy it. I played the open beta, the what was it called? The Slam server, like the server Slam, where they're testing out how well their servers are and everything. So I played a little bit of the game on during that time, and it just feels one of the tough things for me, and this might be like a proxy type of deal, is extraction shooters. They just don't seem to be my thing, other than Arc Raiders, mainly because of the dynamic of extraction shooters, where you go in, grab stuff, get out, but if you die, you lose that stuff. And a lot of these extraction shooters tend to always end up acting the same when comes to their player base, where they always end up trying to backstab you. Or most of the times, there'll be someone too lazy to even play the game, so they'll sit at an extraction point and just shoot you, then take your stuff, and then they go. Is it a skill issue? Yes. Yes, very much.
Pod.
Yep. Again, is it a skill issue? Yes. Yes, it is. I will not deny that. I'm not fighting that aspect of the game. I'm not gonna fight that aspect of Marathon. What I'm fighting on the aspect of Marathon is it just doesn't feel unique to me. I've played a lot of free to play shooters. I've played a lot of free to play things. To me, this feels so much like a free to play shooter in the sense of its art style. The combat feels very much Destiny, because again, ever since, for some weird reason, Bungie loved to dump out a lot of things from Halo, but they seem to gravitate towards this Destiny-esque hybrid of Call of Duty and Halo mashup, where it's like fast paced, but in some areas it kind of feels clunky to me. People say like, "Oh, it's such a great game and everything." I'm like, "Okay, you have your reservation. You have your opinion on that game. I feel differently." But when it comes to a game, if the game itself has a certain amount of reviewers waiting, like they literally pay these reviewers to wait a little bit to review the game until, oh, just wait until we do this content drop. No. Don't do that to me. No. I that's where you're losing my respect. No. Let the reviewer review the game. Just because you feel like, oh, but if we put this content out right now, then it'll feel like a complete game. Then why didn't you put that content out? Just take a little bit of time. I don't know. Just take your time. Sure, I can definitely blame whatever other like publisher or whoever is above them that's pushing this out ahead of time, yeah, I can blame them. Yeah, I will. But if you're gonna be making an extraction shooter and then have it, and then on the same line saying, "Oh yeah, but then we're gonna have this one map that is gonna feel like a raid." And in that map, like once when you get to the end of the raid, you're gonna have like these fights with the enemies and everything. And then like after that, you get to a lot of good loot and you can leave. Like, okay, so this is just Destiny. This is just Destiny. Like if you're gonna give me raids, it's just Destiny with a different coat of paint.
So
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. The Destiny players, I'm pretty sure the Destiny PvPers, they're gonna love this. Go ahead, love it. I don't like, fine, but this is just Destiny.
and that's a problem because if it's just Destiny, then just go play Destiny. Why play something else if why play a game that does something already another game already does well, debatably.
More in the sense of me, it's more like my stance is, if this is just Destiny, then they could have put more energy into Destiny to fix some of the issues they currently had that was bleeding the player base. But they decided to make Marathon, which Marathon was more of a boomer shooter because like the very first Marathon was had the same things, the same aspect as Doom. Which again, I don't mind that they're trying to have a different view, like have a different spin on these things, because again, boomer shooters like Doom, it had its time. It had its time. I'm not gonna say that everything needs to be Doom. It had its time. It had its time frame, but like this feels very much them just going, yeah, this is just Destiny. And not just that, there was I agree with some of the reviewers, because there were a few reviewers where some of these factions that they have, because they have factions in these games, and the factions kind of lead the story on. So you have to do their quest and everything. And a lot of their quests is literally fetch quest. Jump into the map, go to this one point, press a button, leave. Alive or dead, doesn't really matter. Leave. Next mission. Go to this part of the map. Interact with this. Maybe do a few things like destroy a few bots here and there, or destroy a few people here and there. Leave. Like I'm not playing Final Fantasy again in the fetch questing. I'm tired of fetch questing. I played that in Final Fantasy 14. I don't want to do any more fetch questing. Please. And what's worse is you got, from what I heard, whenever it does a server wipe, because of course every extraction shooter has to maintain the balance somehow, so you end up doing a forced server wipe where you lose everything. Guess what you got to do again? All those fetch quests. Yippee!
So I actually want to. So I want to
That lost me.
pause you just a little bit because uh, number one, that was a lot, and I'm sure you can go into more. So, but if I want to get the gist of it of itself, where the design, the gameplay, and the aesthetics that make it too unique, if anything, for you, it feels like it's Bungie doing the same thing again, except in a different type of shooter that's technically different from Destiny. It's, and as well the the small annoyances that build up to a very repetitive game loop that you're no longer want to play anymore.
And like it's not really like the game loop is the game loop. That's how it is when it comes to a lot of extraction shooters. I play Arc Raiders and I enjoy that a lot because I mean it has its own game loop of going in, shooting robots, coming out, and all that stuff. I feel like Arc Raiders is a very casual way of entering into the extraction shooter, and I am content with the aspect that I am just a casual. I'm content with that because I played Escape from Tarkov, Didn't really like it too much. I've played a few others I can't really name right now. But yeah, the main issue I have is the fact that it just feels like Destiny. The people that are really hyping this game up a lot, I feel like they're kind of, it's making the game a little bit overrated because it's just like, it's not that deep. Like, yeah, these shells or basically these classes, they have their own abilities that you will use, and you can't spam them because they have like 2 to 3 minute cooldowns. That, like, that to me, that doesn't feel unique. That just feels like you're adding in pretty much a class to an extraction shooter, and it just ends up being Destiny. Because considering Bungie nowadays reuse a lot of assets and reuse a lot of the same feelings, and it's like, I don't know. I just didn't vibe with it.
All right, all right then. From your points, I can definitely see that if it's not bringing anything new to the table, and if what they bring is not that fun, why stick around for it? And especially since, like with Arc Raiders, that is a free to play game, correct?
Arc Raiders is pay to play. You have to pay. Well, like in the sense, like you pay the
Okay,
$40. I feel
I
like
was,
the $40.
I thought it was free to play. Never mind then. But there are other.
Like both of them are $40 barriers, but I feel like Arc Raiders has given me enough of a reason to pay those $40. Marathon does not give me that reason to pay $40.
I see. I can definitely relate to that in terms of fighting games, because I got Guilty Gear Strive. I did not like the way they handle the online ranking systems, and the lobbies were cute but never very, it never worked as intended. There were some characters I did like. There was never a character that I loved. And that was like the biggest thing for me to really get into Guilty Gear Strive, was that there were characters I liked, but there was never a character I loved to play as. And even the characters I really wanted to, I just couldn't gel with. So eventually, I just played different fighting games that gave me characters that I really love to play. So I'm getting that same feeling to you, that technically Marathon does feel good to play, but there's so many things surrounding it that it is not very fun to play for you, and you've already played a game that does everything it does just much better.
Yeah, yeah. Like, so for the Marathon people, again, I will restate that. Yes, I'm a dirty casual. I don't care. I'm a dirty casual, and but just like how I feel when it comes to people that play the next year of Madden, I'm pretty sure you feel the same way about me.
But hey, that's what happens. You try out something, and you know what? It doesn't turn out the way it is. The other example I would have picked instead of Fury, because Fury was like the one that was so clear cut. The other one actually kind of fits to where you recognize there's good things about it, but there just wasn't enough there for me to keep going. Was Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and it pains me
Mm-hmm.
because when I look at its DLC and all the different other story events you can play through, in my head I'm like, that's pretty cool. I would like to play through that stuff. Then I remember, oh, actually don't like the combat too much for Kakarot, and the side quest and the actual RPG stuff in it is very shallow and not that engaging. And if you're going through just, hey, you're going through Dragon Ball Z again, it's like, well, I already know what happens in Dragon Ball Z. So because of that though, I did then see, for people who never saw Dragon Ball Z, like never, they barely know anything. All they know is Super Saiyan Goku and that he is a thing. For them, the game is super fun and super cool because they're living out the story through a very cool way, and so the game hits harder for them. But for someone like me who knows what happens in the story, and I'm in here to play a fun game that is provides some challenge, I didn't get that. So I could have chose that one, but I went with Fury because I just love the. I still think about it of how like you could have just made a regular action game instead of a boss rush. Like I am not that hardcore of a gamer. It's like nah, I want to get nothing but bosses and bosses and bosses. That's all I want.
We need more bosses.
I need to fight the big boss. No, not that one. All right, that is the conclusion of that segment. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm sure everyone has their own games that they tried out that they really enjoyed, or were very disappointed, or ended up not liking. But that's the kind of the fun thing as you play games through the years. You get all those good memories to think back on, and sometimes those games either end up being better than you thought, or you go, how the heck did I even stomach this? This was an edited clip from our weekly live stream, the Hack Jack Show. If you enjoy this content, subscribe to be notified of all of our future videos, hype the video, don't forget to press the like button, and leave your comments down below. This is Hack, signing off.